The rain whispered softly against the window as she sat there, lost in thoughts she could no longer silence. Marriage had given her comfort, safety, and predictability, but not the heartbeat she once felt when love was new. Her husband was kind, steady, and always on time. Yet somehow, that steadiness had turned into distance. They shared a home, a name, but not a heartbeat. It wasn't unhappiness, it was emptiness. A quiet that settled deep inside her chest and refused to leave. Then came him. Her husband's friend, or rather, a man who noticed her when no one else seemed to. Their first conversation was harmless, about music, books, the weather, but it stretched longer than it should have. His eyes lingered when he smiled, his words felt like warmth, and for the first time in years, she felt seen. It frightened her, the way her pulse raced with his nearness. Yet she didn't step away. Each text, each call, each accidental meeting drew her closer to a line she swore she'd never cross. She told herself it was just emotional comfort, that she could stop whenever she wanted. But late at night, when the house was quiet, her thoughts betrayed her. She began waiting for his messages, replaying his voice in her mind. She began dressing differently, not for her husband, but for someone who wasn't hers. She hated herself for it, yet she couldn't stop. There was a pull, magnetic and wrong, that made her feel alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. One evening, when he brushed his fingers against hers, time froze. The world fell silent, and everything inside her trembled. He whispered, "Careful." She didn't move. In that single word, danger and desire became one. She knew it was wrong, but she didn't let go. Days turned into weeks, and what began as quiet temptation grew into an unspoken affair of glances and silence. They didn't need to say much, every look carried words they were too afraid to speak aloud. She would sit across from her husband at dinner, smiling faintly, pretending to listen, while her mind drifted elsewhere, to messages hidden in her phone, to moments that replayed when the lights went out. Guilt lived beneath her skin, yet desire fed on every forbidden heartbeat. She had convinced herself it was only emotional, but emotions had long crossed the line. He, too, wrestled with the pull. He wasn't proud of it. Every time he met her, his heart waged war with his conscience. But she understood him in a way no one else did. She listened. She laughed at his silences, finished his thoughts. They found in each other what they both lacked elsewhere: understanding, excitement, and the illusion of being truly wanted. Yet love born in shadows never breathes freely. The secrecy became its own addiction. Every notification felt like a jolt of electricity, every lie she told her husband tasted bitter. But she learned to live with it, to wear guilt like perfume, hidden, but always there. Nights grew heavier, she'd lie beside the man who trusted her most, knowing her heart wasn't his anymore. She wanted to stop, yet couldn't. The more she tried to pull away, the deeper she sank. Then came the night he said, "We should end this." His voice was steady, but his eyes trembled. She froze, her world collapsing in silence. He spoke of wrong timing, of ruined lives, of pain waiting at the end of this road. But all she heard was loss. She reached for him, whispering, "Hold me close." He did, but only for a moment too long. After that night, everything began to crumble quietly. What was once thrilling turned into a weight neither of them could carry. She tried to pretend nothing had changed, but the air between them was filled with unsaid words and restrained emotions. Every time she saw him, she felt both the ache of longing and the sting of guilt. He avoided her eyes, avoided her name, yet his silence spoke louder than any confession could. The distance he created tore through her like a slow wound. She had tasted something she could never have again, and reality began to punish her for it. At home, her husband noticed her distraction, the way she drifted through days like a ghost of herself. He asked gentle questions, the kind that came from love, not suspicion. She answered with careful lies, her voice trembling under the weight of what she was hiding. Each lie became harder to speak. She began to see the man she once vowed to love, his quiet patience, his small acts of care, and it broke her. For the first time, she realized how deeply she had betrayed not just him, but herself. The other man withdrew completely, vanishing without warning. No messages, no closure, only silence where once there was fire. It was the price of forbidden love, passion that burns bright and ends in ashes. She would catch herself reaching for her phone, then stop, remembering that he was gone by choice. Nights stretched endlessly, filled with memories she wished she could erase. Slowly, guilt consumed the desire that once ruled her. She no longer waited for him, she only waited to feel clean again. But forgiveness doesn't come easily when the heart has already crossed the line. What she lost wasn't just love, it was the version of herself she could never return to. Weeks passed before she finally confessed, not with words but with the exhaustion that clung to her every breath. The guilt had hollowed her out, lies no longer protected her, they poisoned her. Her husband noticed, and one evening, when she could no longer bear the silence between them, she told him everything. Not in full detail, but enough for him to understand that trust had been broken. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. He just looked at her, eyes heavy with disbelief, pain, and the quiet kind of heartbreak that doesn't explode, it sinks deep and stays. That was the moment she realized that betrayal doesn't always destroy loudly, sometimes, it ends love quietly, in the space between two heartbeats. He left the room without a word. She sat there, waiting, but the door never opened again that night. The next morning, the world was the same, yet everything had changed. He moved around her like a stranger, polite and distant, while she drowned in regret. The man she had loved in secret was gone, and the man who had loved her openly no longer could. That emptiness, once filled with forbidden passion, now became her punishment. Days turned to months, and she lived with the echo of her choices. No one knew, but the shame followed her everywhere, in her reflection, in the quiet moments before sleep, in the memory of that whispered careful. She understood too late that love built on deceit can never last, it devours everything, even the pieces of you that were once pure. Her heart still remembered both men, but only one memory remained clear, the moment she realized desire without truth isn't love, it's ruin. And sometimes, the hardest forgiveness is the one you owe yourself.